In this vodcast, we're going to be talking about how to get into the film and the television industry, with the help of Richard Jones, a camera operator for BBC One who works on Inside Out and other nature programmes. Next up is his show. How long have you actually worked in the television media industry?
I've worked in television for about 14 years, but the first year of that was not paid. Paid work for 13.
How did you get that job?
I wrote off to the BBC saying that I'd like to do work experience, basically, and got a letter back.
Ah, so you were quite lucky there.
I was, yeah. I think a lot has changed in the last sort of 10 years. I knew someone that knew someone, and I wrote them a letter, and I got it. But now you have to go through, they actually have a very organised process, and they have quite strict requirements about who they do and don't take on work.
Do you remember what qualifications you actually needed for that job, if you needed any?
Because I was going for a specific area of television, which was wildlife television, they were very keen that I had a science degree, basically a biology, zoology, or botany is what they wanted. And I did have a zoology degree, and I think without it, it would have been difficult. But that's just because it was wildlife television.
Yeah, okay. Do you actually go to university?
I did, yeah. I went to Nottingham University, and as I say, studied zoology and got a 2-1 degree.
Okay.
It also had wildlife photography.
The rough journey you got from your first job, the unpaid one, to your actual current job now?
The work experience I was in, I did several bits of work experience, and when I got to one particular production, I could see that series was going to get recommissioned, and when it did, the person at the lowest, at the bottom job, was going to get moved up and made a full researcher. They weren't going to be just a tape researcher.
Okay.
So I just thought, right, if I just hang around here long enough, then when this new series gets commissioned, there'll be a job going there, a paid job. So I just kind of kept going, and even though I'd finished the work experience, I kept in touch with the producer. And sure enough, when the series got recommissioned, there was a job vacancy, and I was in the best position to get it because I just kept in touch. So that's how I got my first paid job. I stayed with that part of the BBC for about 2 years. I was stuck as a researcher, and I wanted to move up to being an assistant producer. And I thought the best way to do that would probably be to leave the BBC and go to an independent company. The BBC will keep you as a researcher for quite a long time, and it's easy to move up if you go out into independent companies. So I went to an independent company, got a job, managed to get a job as an assistant producer after applying for 1 or 2. And I then took up, whilst I was at that company, as well as doing the research, I started learning how to use cameras, and I started filming things as well as sort of doing the researching and the assistant producing. And that enabled me to then, when I finished with them, I saw a job at the BBC for a cameraman director, and I hopped back to the BBC and became a cameraman director.
So you said you worked for an independent company. Do you remember the name of it and what it was like actually working there compared to the BBC?
It was called Available Light, and it couldn't have been more different from working with the BBC. The BBC is full of regulations and organisation, and it has an office for everything, whether it gets money ready for a foreign trip. They have a currency office to help you deal with that. They have an IT department that will sort your computer out. They just do everything. They've got a camera department. You go to an independent, and it's literally 10 people sitting in a couple of offices, and they don't have IT support. Very, very basic. But because of that, actually the people in the independent company have actually got a lot more skills